Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah and welcome to Living Muslim. Alhamdulillah, we are still in the blessed month of Ramadan. The month of Ramadan is not only about fasting, rather the month of Ramadan is just as important when it comes to the recitation of the Quran, your relationship with the Quran. Alhamdulillah, joining me today in the studio, I have two very beautiful and very inspiring brothers, Brother Ali and Brother Jamal, who, believe it or not, they actually memorized the whole book. That's right, there wasn't a mistake in my words. They memorized the whole Quran from cover to cover in Australia. Now we know that there are people around the world that have memorized it, but these two in specific actually memorized the book of Allah. They memorized the whole Quran while living in Australia. These are guys who were born, raised, they did everything that you and I do, but they managed to memorize the book of Allah. But before I go to my guests, alhamdulillah, I also had Brother Stools go out on the streets today to see what's happening outside on the streets and to see how people are keeping up with their relationship with the book of Allah in the blessed month of Ramadan. Kick it off for me, please, Stools.
Hoblos, we're live here in Lakemba, Holden Street, the place to be. We're going to meet and greet the people. Let's see what they have to say. How's your relationship been with the Quran, inshallah? Have you read the Quran this month of Ramadan?
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Wallah, how many juz have you read?
3.
Alhamdulillah, I have a routine reading the Quran. I try to finish every 5 days one khatam.
If they actually spare 2 minutes or 3 minutes after each salat, that's all you need. You'll find you actually finish the Quran within a month or 40 days sometimes.
How are we going to encourage our brothers that don't know how to read Quran?
Learn.
Perfect!
Put a program for yourself. Whether it's a time, hourly slots in the day, you say to yourself 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, and you put your Quran in one of those slots.
Hoblos, as you can see, we've got fans from all around the world. These brothers have come down from Melbourne just to see me live in Holden Street.
He's the man.
When's the last time, realistically, can you tell me, when you gave the Quran its quality time?
Yeah, it's been a long time and you're right. I think I should concentrate more on that, on reading the Quran more often.
How's it feel to double park in the main street of Lakemba?
No, I'm not double parking because that guy is moving, so that's why I'm going to park.
Oh, you're not double parking, it's my mistake.
Honestly, the Ummah needs to wake up to itself. They need to start attending religious activities, especially in this month.
Just do it. You won't be able to, actually experience it without actually reading it. Everyone can say they can do it, but it's until they open up the Quran and they really feel it.
And do you find reading Quran hard or is it easy for you?
Not easy for me
Why is it easy?
because I can read Arabic.
Even if you don't know, learning is more ajr than doing it. If it's just a habit to you, comes off your mouth like water, it won't be as much as if you struggle. The struggle is what gives you the reward.
طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع.
Brother, a few days have already passed this Ramadan. How's your relationship been with the Quran this Ramadan?
Well, basically, this Ramadan I'm trying to, get into the deen because, I think Ramadan is a good time to, learn more.
We're at Trabulsi Bakery here in Lakemba. The clock is going off and there's still many hours to go, inshallah. So Hoblos, I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you very much for that, Stools. Jazaks to the max for your fantastic work. Wallahi, I didn't know that Tala al-Badru alayna is from the Quran, but it's always great to learn something new. One thing I did find interesting, in this video of Stools is, the young kid who said that, my Arabic, that it was the Arabic that helped him reading the Quran. I want to come over to my guests now, Brother Ali and Jamal. Thank you very much for joining us in the studio. Jamal, what are your thoughts on this, the fact that he had Arabic to begin with? Is the Quran only for Arabs?
Well, I don't think anyone can deny that Arabic does give you a really good head start in terms of being able to memorize. But at the same time, I've had experience in competitions overseas where I've seen, people from Central Asia, people from the Balkans, from Africa, all being able to memorize the Quran and do so, without too many mistakes. They'd actually be able to read the Quran quite fluently, and mistakes would be at a minimum.
So these are guys that are non-Arabs who live in non-Arab countries and yet still come to memorize the whole book
Exactly, and many of them would be in their teens or even about 10 years old. So it's not like they spent decades just trying to memorize.
Because you have to yourself, the idea of memorizing the Quran is a beautiful one, and I've mixed with lots of people. We've sat down and spoken about memorizing, but when it comes to the implementation of it, it's a different ballgame. Even I know for myself, I've sat down many times and said, yeah, this is it, and I've cracked with Surah Al-Baqarah, and here comes the first 5. I get it in there, but when I turn the page over, I almost have a heart attack, and then very easily I give up. I wanted to ask, what are some of the challenges? What are some of the things you go through in memorizing the Quran?
Yeah, Muhammad, memorizing the Quran isn't an easy thing in itself. Okay, it does take a lot of time. It does take a lot of effort. It does take a lot of motivation. So from the beginning, you're going to have something there that's going to help you memorize all the time. So you're going to have something that's going to keep you motivated. One of the things as well is to stay committed. Keep things simple. Don't harden the memorization upon yourself.
How else can we overcome some of these challenges?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. So Allah subhanahu, and that's one of my favorite ayat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and seek help in patience and in prayer and in salah. So read what you are memorizing in salah. It helps you memorize. It helps you strengthen your recitation. Have patience, because it's not easy. It's not like a walk in the park. It takes time. I memorized the Quran over 6 years, for example. It's not like I memorized
6 years, and this was with your schooling, and this was
juggling everything. It wasn't like I opened the Quran one night and the next day I had it done and dusted.
Within your 6 years, though, Ali, I want to ask, was the Quran a priority, or did you do this in spare time?
Well, it was a bit of both. It was a bit of both. Like I said, I set myself a program. I would memorize twice a week. That's with juggling, my studies as a 11-year-old boy up until I finished school, HSC. Set myself a program, and I didn't go too much over and too much under, and I stayed consistent. That's the best way to do anything.
Jamal, what are some of the things that you did while trying to memorize? How did you tackle some of your challenges?
Yeah, well, my own journey began when I was about 2 years and 8 months. I mean, that's, of course, the favour that returns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala firstly, and to my parents secondly. And in particular, my mum. I think many sisters will be familiar with Jamal, who gives lessons to sisters. She's actually a revert to Islam. She converted, I think, in her teens.
So your mother's a revert, and you started your memorization at 2 years and 8 months.
Yeah, I mean, that's just with, the very small surahs. So we're talking about, قُلْ هُوَ وَاحَدْ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ, and so forth.
What do you mean the small surahs? These are the ones I'm still on.
Yeah.
Wow. So you started these at such a young age, and then your journey sort of really kicked off from there. Jamal, I want to ask, I mean, after reading the Quran so much, and I was having a chat with you before, you said to me within the first 3 days of Ramadan, you've read the whole Quran in 3 days.
I didn't want to mention that. I mean, it's just,
yeah, I know, but wow, like that's
yeah.
that's really amazing. As you read, do you have a favorite verse? And if so, can we hear it from you, please?
Sure. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الذين يتلون كتاب الله وأقاموا الصلاة وأنفقوا مما رزقناهم سرا وعلانية يرجون تجارة لن تبور.
Wow, mashallah. Jamal, you must be very, very proud with a very fine product. Wow, mashallah, that's very, very nice to hear. Ali, what about yourself? Do you have a favorite?
Favorite, there's a lot.
It's a bit difficult. I know it's very hard to sort of narrow it down. But when I ask you, let's say I was to ask you now, what's your favorite verse? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
5 minutes ago would have been something different to now. SubhanAllah. The one I just mentioned, for example.
Can we hear it from you, please?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم واستعينوا بالصبر والصلاة وإنها لكبيرة إلا على الخاشعين الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو ربهم وأنهم إليه راجعون.
MashaAllah. Well, guys, thank you guys so much for joining us here in the studio. Wallahi, it's very nice. It's very inspiring to hear, that you guys actually accomplished memorizing the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So bringing this back to you and I, brothers and sisters back home, it is doable. There are no excuses. And the reward of memorizing the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, just imagine with me, on the day of resurrection, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will speak to that person that memorized the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, more or less, He will say to this person, recite like you used to recite in dunya. And your level in Jannah will be with the last verse that you recite. Imagine the person who had memorized the whole book. Imagine the person who's going to recite every single verse in the Quran. Where will his level be? Of course it will be the highest. So my brothers and sisters, and it is doable. So there's no excuses. Don't give me, look, I'm not an Arab. I come from this country. For myself, I'm learning Arabic. So I'm still at the alif beta stages, guys. Right? I'm learning Arabic. And wallahi, the guys that are leading the class, they're non-Arabs. Guys from Afghanistan and Pakistan and India, these guys are non-Arabs and they're ahead of the game. So it is doable. It is achievable. And more than that, for myself, Brother Jamal was speaking about his mother and how his mother was a big influence. The greatest reward that you and I can ever give to our parents is memorizing the book of Allah. On the day of resurrection, when everyone will be resurrected naked, uncircumcised, barefooted, the parents of those people that memorize the Quran, they will be given cloaks, like royalty, a garment. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put a crown on their heads. So, wallahi, what a fantastic gift to give back to our parents, those people who made such an effort. And speaking of parents, Ali, we had a very nice get together with your mother earlier today. We wanted to make this as a surprise for you and as a thank you for coming on to the show. We actually asked your mother as to how she felt about you and about you memorizing the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what she had to say.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Ibtihaj, thank you very much for coming on set. We understand it's Ramadan and you have a tight schedule. We're very grateful. Thank you for coming on.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me, Aida.
Thank you. Sister Ibtihaj, Ali doesn't know you're here. And we want to surprise him. I need you to look into the camera and tell him how you feel.
Ali, I love you so much. You know, I've always told you that you are my eyes that I see in. You, Ali, you are the eyes that I see in. You and your brothers and your sisters. I love you very much. Inshallah, you'll be good in this dunya and you'll be good in the hereafter. And I know you're a good role model for all the ummah out here. And Luqman, and Safiya and Aisha, and all of them. All my kids, alhamdulillah, I'm very good. And I love all my children very much. There's not one special more than the other. But Ali is my life, and him and Luqman. They are the eyes I see because they are a good role model for the community. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them a good life. Love you very much.
My mum's the reason why I started memorizing Quran, and I just want to say, Mum, I love you too. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you the highest of Jannah, make only Firdaus al-A'la, inshallah, and make you neighbors of the Prophet in Jannah.
And likewise for my
that
mum,
is beautiful.
inshallah.
Well, look, guys, wallahi, I want to thank the both of you very much, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless both your parents, both your mothers, both your fathers for doing such a great job and being such an inspiration to you guys memorizing the Quran. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that all of our parents, or those people that are going to become parents, to also be as influential. And once again, my brothers and sisters, please make an effort in this blessed month of Ramadan. Don't think whole Quran. Think something basic, something that you can achieve. Thank you all so very much. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. And on this, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.